The 16th century was a dangerous place. Catholics and Protestants fought for religious supremacy. In England, the Protestants were winning, but that brought with it the constant threat of war or invasion from Catholic Europe. Peacetime was just as uncertain. The plague, a lethal virus spread by a mere sneeze, kept life expectancy to 38 years. As William Shakespeare began his life, Elizabeth I was beginning her reign. She brought stability and encouraged drama and music. But even with the Virgin Queen, England was still fragile, and everything was up for grabs. Including the very language. Only a century earlier, English was seen as a vulgar peasant language incapable of expressing refined thought. And it was spoken in a bewildering range of dialects. The upper classes spoke French and Latin. And the Canterbury Tales, written by Chaucer, was a poetic fusion of all these sounds. Gossip, elbow, fixture, puking, obscene, generous, frugal, champion. Today, about a third of the world's population can read Shakespeare in their own languages. If they read him in the original English, they would find that about 1,700 words are his invention or are used by him in a new way. Courtship, assassination, deafening, circumstantial, blanket, negotiate. He turned nouns into verbs, verbs into nouns, and in all, his plays use a vocabulary of about 30,000 words, many more than the average educated person will use in a lifetime.
When shall we three meet again?
Virgil. Thunderbirds.
When William Shakespeare entered the free grammar school in Stratford, probably aged 5, he was one of only the second generation of pupils ever to have learned grammar.
Estis.
The English language was as new and full of possibilities then as the internet is now.
Semper spectatis.
It offered a whole new medium by which to tell stories and describe feelings. When the plague struck in 1592, 70% of those who fell ill died, and they were dying at the rate of 1,000 a week. In a bid to stop the disease spreading, public buildings were shut down, including the theatres. With the theatres closed and London in the grip of plague, most actors and sensible playwrights left the city for safety. But not Shakespeare. He stayed, and instead of writing plays, he wrote sonnets. Edith Sitwell once said that poetry is the articulated scream, and certainly the sonnets are a fantastic example of that. Written in a tight 14-line structure, they carry in them a sort of emotional bombshell, explosive language to do with love, death, fear, loss, and jealousy. So from plague-ridden London, Shakespeare produced some of the most beautiful poetry ever written. Is it thy will thy image should keep open my heavy eyelids to the weary night? Dost thou desire my slumbers should be broken, while shadows like to thee do mock my sight? Is it thy spirit that thou sends from thee so far from home, into my deeds to pry, to find out shames and idle hours in me, the scope and tenor of thy jealousy? Oh no, thy love, though much, is not so great. It is my love that keeps my eye awake, mine own true love that doth my rest defeat, to play the watchman ever for thy sake. For thee watch I, whilst thou dost wake elsewhere, from me far off, with others all too near. The power of these sonnets makes it hard for people who read them not to feel they must have come from Shakespeare's own personal experience. He wrote so many characters in these poems. They're like mini plays in which he plays himself. They're very passionate and direct.